How's it going, everyone? Kappa Anime Joe here, and as you might have surmised, I have gathered you all here today so that we may review the latest chapter of One Piece, 1189, which is titled King of the World. And it opens up just where the last one left off, with Luffy just getting impaled, stabbed, run through by Emu. But does Emu stop there? No. He keeps going, lunging forward and piercing the sword through one of the nearby trees, effectively like pinning Luffy to the tree like you might thumbtack a piece of paper to the wall. That's right. Instead of being stuck between a rock and a hard place, no. Luffy is stuck between a tree and a sharp place. And Usopp notices this right away. My man Usopp. What I believe is happening in this panel is an inkling of him demonstrating his observation haki. We have like his shocked face. There's the little alarmed symbol thing that Oda uses, and he turns around right away as if he is sensing either what just happened to Luffy or even more, what might be to come. Nami even asks him what's wrong. Now, in my video about Usopp and his growth, I'll have it linked somewhere above, I mentioned that I think his observation haki is going to manifest itself in different ways. One of them is future sight. I think Usopp's going to need it to face Van Augur. The other one was similar to what Fujitora showed us on Dressrosa, when he can see the emotions via colors of those around him. And a third aspect similar to what Usopp showed us on Dressrosa, which is him being able to see aura of individuals through his observation haki. And something I think him seeing this aura will let him do is truly tell the condition someone's in. Are they powering up for an attack? Are they severely weakened by an attack? Stuff like that. And so in this panel, I really do think that we are seeing the early stages of Usopp developing this. In any case, like I said, Nami asks Usopp what's wrong, and he says it's Luffy. I am just worried if he's going to be all right. And Nami asks, why are you being so ominous all of a sudden? And again, I think this is because Usopp, even if he isn't directly seeing something in the future, like future sight, or directly detecting the condition Luffy's in, he in some way, even if it is subconscious, knows that the situation is about to get so much worse. Now, Nami, as with most of the Straw Hats, has complete faith in Luffy, stating that of course he'll be fine. And then we have Jinbei, who, granted, also has complete faith in Luffy, but he is more grounded, more reasonable, I guess, experienced. And he reminds Nami, don't forget that Emu swiftly defeated Loki. Now, Loki, he does not like this one. He's like, hey, Fishman, who the hell are you saying he defeated? While Loki's also on the ground, huffing and puffing, and in a lot of pain. So, it was you, bro, Loki. Emu defeated you, and now he's gone on to defeat Luffy. So it's not like anyone's really putting up a great showing against Emu. And Jinbei notes this is also part of what makes me think Usopp was really picking up on this. That all he can say for sure is that Luffy's haki suddenly weakened. And I mean, he just got stabbed by a sword which feeds on life force. So I don't think it's a surprise that it has weakened his haki with it. Moving on to the next panel, we see that Shuri has been fully defrosted. Frankie exclaims she's fully thawed out, or she's completely thawed out. Brook is like freaking out. He's like, Princess Shuri, come on, you must tell me about what happened back then. Were you really being controlled? And while Frankie notes that they shouldn't warm her up too quickly, Brook's like, Yo ho 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 ho! Well, don't worry about that, Frankie-san. I don't have any body heat to begin with. But he's right. So Brook can remain close to Shuri without really affecting her temperature negatively or positively. Now, Ragnar is not too happy about her being defrosted. He gets in there and it looks like he's about to freeze her again, right? I don't think he intended on her being thawed, and he's not looking happy. And Brook's like, stay back, don't get in the way, don't get in the way of me and my Princess Shuri. Usopp is also helping to defend Shuri, it looks like. In this panel, it really looks like he is facing towards Brook and Shuri with his Kabuto, but I think he's supposed to be facing Ragnar with his Kabuto. I'll try to give an example of this so you can see kind of how weird it looks. But he's asking if Brook's good here, and he's saying if things get scary then, and I'm hoping, because I have hope for Usopp, although I really think he's going to end up partnering with Ragnar against Emu, but I'm hoping he'd be willing to jump right back in and help Brook. Then we have Hiruden, Chopper, and Gerd. They're coming in to join, flying in on a ship. They're going way too fast. Gerd's like, we are going, Hiruden, we are going way too fast. This is not okay. This kind of reminds me of in Egghead Island, when the crew was trying to get the Sunny off of the Labo phase, the upper part, and they're just like sliding down on Brook's ice, and then Lilith is like, how are we gonna stop this, Brook? Did you think about that? But in this case, they've got Chopper, who it looks like he uses guard point to, I think they run right into Loki. They crash right into Loki. He does not look happy. Okay. So Hiruden just hits the ship and flies right in. Chopper uses guard point to cushion Gerd. Gerd's the one who gets cushioned by Chopper. Everyone else takes the brunt. Loki, Hiruden, and the ship. And then we have Jinbei, Chopper, and Nami are basically like, Hiruden, Gerd, Chopper. Well, what are you guys doing here? And we get a little bit of Chopper praise. Gerd's like, thank you, Chopper-kun. You're so cute and so reliable. And Chopper, like he frequently says, is like, well, don't think praise like that makes me feel happy or anything. And he does this little squiggly, which we've seen Chopper do. But Gerd immediately jumps into treating Loki. She's like, I need to treat Loki right away. And Gerd, you could not be more right, because like Luffy, who is not looking too good right now, we are going to need Loki back up by the end of this as well, because I really think we're leading up towards not only a team group effort against Emu, but at the end a pairing between Loki and Luffy against Emu. So we got to start stalling Emu out and freeing Luffy, and then also working on getting him and Loki healed back up. So it's good that Gerd is jumping in. She mentions that there's blood everywhere. Well, yeah, Gerd, Loki got stabbed, I think multiple times. He took it like a champion. He is a tank, but he got stabbed, listen, Gerd, multiple times. Now, Loki doesn't fully trust them yet. He's like, you guys will make my injuries worse. What did you come here for? But I don't think, like, they're all right now, more than ever, they are all on the same side. And so Loki, bro, you're just going to have to suck it up and let Gerd heal you. It's really actually quite important. Then Oda brings us into a flashback between Hiruden and Jarl. And Jarl is convincing Hiruden to go back up to the main fight. He's like, go back up, Loki. And Hiruden's like, but the kids. And Jarl showing that wisdom, showing that age, that knowledge. Even if we rescue the children, it'd be just a temporary reprieve. Their goal is to totally subjugate Elbaf by force. Do you really think this is a position they just decided on at the Reverie? That can't be the whole story, right? That man is likely at the heart of this. So Jarl surmises, and we actually know from Emu that they've tried this in the past with Elbaf, and it actually worked back then. But Jarl surmises this is not a new plan. This is not something the world government just came up with during this year's Reverie. No, no, no. He surmises that this is something they've done before. And so he's pushing Hyrden, and I'm really glad he did this, because another great team up, if it's not Luffy and Loki, would be Hyrden and Loki. Finally coming together, fighting alongside each other to avenge their father Harald, which is absolutely something that he would want to see, especially because while doing so, they would be defending their country Elbaf. And so Hyrden asks Loki, do you have any idea who that guy is? And Loki's like, yeah, at least sort of. And we're going to come back to this later in the chapter, but we get a little bit of details about how Loki really learns and what he knows about Emu. Now we cut back to that very same Emu, you guessed it, and Luffy is coughing and wheezing, and he's in pain. He's still in Gear 5th, amazingly. He has not gotten pushed out of Gear 5th yet. Emu pulls out another sword, and we're going to come to find out that the various blades, the various weapons that Emu wields are the original weapons of the 19 families who came together to form the world government. This, of course, is taking out the Nefertari family who defected by the end. So Emu summons another sword. He's probably pulling them all out of his omen. I've never counted it directly. I should go back and try to look. But he might have 19 eyes on his omen ring, symbolizing powers or abilities or weapons that he's drawing upon from those 19 kings. And he poses a question to Luffy. How many slashes can thou endure before perishing? Monkey D. Luffy. Such a detestable name to Moo. And yet, thou hast two elder siblings. Not one, but two, who go by different names. So, we know Emu's been following along with the happenings of the world. He's not ignorant to this. He first talks about Ace by saying that one of Luffy's brother was slain by the Navy. Then he talks about Sabo, the other, as a prominent member of the Revolutionary Army. And then he runs Luffy through a second time. This just looks so... these swords, they're physically longer. They're bigger than Luffy. They're not wider than Luffy, but they are longer than Luffy. They're giant. They're huge. This one is called Fragarachi or Fragarach or Fragarach, something like that. Fragarach. It kind of looks like there might be eyes at the end, but I think they're 2 exclamation marks. And then he says, what an ill-mannered trio of siblings. Then I believe this panel here is, we're back to Loki and we're back to Hyrden. So we're cutting back to that group. And here they start talking about Emu, with Loki recollecting a conversation close to when Harald died. This looks like it happened right after Loki landed the finishing blow. He's conversing with Scapper, Gabon, and Shanks. And he tells them, with my newfound power, with my Nidhogg form, I will make sure that Pops and those soldiers have no regrets. I will make sure that I avenge them. And this is the point where Shanks stops Loki. So, this is the first point where Shanks stops Loki. As we go through this conversation, I'm starting to think that Loki might have willingly let himself be captured in Elbaf even if he put up a fight to make it look like he was trying to resist the country, so that he could be in the right place at the right time. But Shanks says, listen, Loki, like, I know that you're angry, man. I get it. But you can't go fight them now. We don't have to rush into this. Not only did they take out your father Harald, but that wasn't their main goal. Their main goal for controlling him in the first place was to take over the country of Elbaf, to make it kneel and become warriors for the world government. And he's like, you know, Harald asked you to protect your country. He even said the safety of Elbaf is more important than all. So your priority, Loki, it should not be chasing after the world government. It should not be looking for Emu. Your priority should be preparing for war. And of course, Loki's like, a full-on war with the world government? Dude, Shanks, bro, that's not what I have in mind. No. This is personal. This is mano-a-mano. Me against the thing that took over my dad. I'm talking about taking revenge on the ones responsible. And Shanks brings up a great point, because Loki doesn't really know this at this point. Who's your target, right? Is it the world government? Is it the Marines? Do you really know, Loki, do you really know who it is that you are going after? And this is where Shanks drops the first big clue. The one who tried to use Harald is the king of the world. And Jarl's like, well, this doesn't make any sense, Shanks. You're saying there's a king of the world? That would contradict everything we know about them. That would contradict everything that they stand for. And Shanks is like, it's true, guys. It doesn't matter if you don't believe me or not. But I'm telling you, the world government is putting on a giant facade. And at the head of that is a singular individual, a shadow leader, a king of the world. Now, Loki, being relatively simple-minded, is like, well, if there's a secret king, I can just take his head and be done with it. But Shanks reminds us and teaches Loki for the first time that this king, this individual, has immeasurable, insurmountable power. And that even if you can make it there, there is no chance you're going to win that fight. And he really puts the brakes on Loki by telling him that Roxty Zebek is the only person ever in history who has made it to Emu in the throne room, and he could not do anything. In fact, he left without picking a fight because he realized immediately that he did not have the power or the tools or anything necessary to engage in that fight and really have a shot at winning. And Shanks says, we do not need to rush into this fight just yet. There will be a time and a place, Loki, I promise you that, and it is not right now. And while Loki argues and says, you don't get to boss me around, and Jarl says, don't do anything stupid, Loki, back in the present time, Loki admits that those few years I left the country, I wasn't even able to make it to him, let alone engage in a fight. If the king of the world really has come out to play, this is the perfect chance, right? So Loki is saying, Hyrden, this is what I've wanted the whole time. And realistically, it's something you're going to want too. This is the guy who we need to take revenge on. And rather than us having to go to him, he has come to us. Hyrden calls Loki simple-minded, which he kind of is. I mentioned this earlier. But in this instance, Hyrden has no objections. No. Him and Loki, possibly for the first time in their lives, they are aligned. They are aligned on the same goal, and that is to take down Emu, the ruler of the world. Jinbei is shocked just like Jarl was, commenting on how unusual and unreal this conversation is, with Nami mentioning that what do the five elders actually do if there's a ruler ahead of them? Like, are they just their figureheads? I mean, they actually do like day-to-day work and running the world government and probably helping run the Marines, even though that's mostly Kong, and we see them meeting with the fleet admiral pretty regularly. So they do the dirty work that Emu doesn't want to, in terms of just the day-to-day operations, but they are not the rulers of the world that they are shown to be by the world government. And now we see part one of why Chopper's here. There's two reasons, and we'll get to the other one later. But the first one is we needed a solid translator between Ragnar and Brook. And Chopper says Ragnar froze Shuri because she is dangerous. And Brook, this is his like daughter figure here. He's getting defensive. He's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Well, she might be dangerous, but I assure you that this is not the real her. This is not my Shuri. This is not the real Princess Shuri. No, this is not her fault. She was being controlled. This girl is like a daughter to me. And Ragnar is so confused. He can't figure it out. He's thinking about how Brook is a skeleton and Shuri is a human. And he's like, what is this? Brook, what are you talking about? But now we have a clear up for the misunderstanding. So I don't think Ragnar is going to keep pressuring Brook unless Shuri is still Gunko, if she's still being controlled. There's a possibility that Ragnar helps immobilize her if they need extra time or something else for Brook and the crew members there to fully free Shuri. We just need to wait and see what happens when she wakes up. But at the very least now, I think that Ragnar and Brook and Usopp and Jinbei, the group there, they're going to be on the same page, right? They're going to be aligned. And then Robin pops up. I think she's using her devil fruit. It looks like she's spawning a clone of herself up where the group is. And she asks Chopper to come to the library right away. It doesn't look like it's too far. He can see Saul over there. Saul's waving him down. Nami's getting their attention. I think what is going on here is Saul and Robin need to have a conversation with Biblo. Biblo the owl. He is going to give them key knowledge, possibly a weakness of Emu. You know, if Biblo is a Nakama of Joy Boy, then he might know stuff, and perhaps he really can't relay it to Robin and Saul, or for some reason he genuinely does not want to reveal any true form he might have that would allow him to reveal it. So in place of that, just as we saw Chopper talking to Ragnar, we already know he can talk to mythical, magical beings. I believe that the connection here is that Chopper will be talking to Biblo. So this probably means that on the battlefront, we're going to have Gerd, who's our doctor, who's helping Loki, and possibly will help Luffy as well. Again, unless Chopper is given some key information from Biblo to help Luffy with, or maybe Biblo tells Chopper about what Chopper really is. You know, there's theories that his devil fruit is tied to the forest god in some way. That's why he can hard counter Domi Reversi. So my guess here, I'm almost certain that Robin wants Chopper there to talk to Biblo. I think that's a pretty foregone conclusion, but we'll see. Oda could always change it up. He's the master writer. But I think that Oda is going to impart to Chopper either a weakness of Emu, something about Chopper himself, some kind of history of Elbaf. Whatever we get from Biblo during this fight is going to be beneficial towards driving out the celestial dragons and Emu. Even if we don't defeat Emu here, which I'm of the mind that we won't, finding a way to time him out or drive him out or force him out in some way is likely our win condition. And now we have Luffy. I mean, he is covered in blood. He's not moving. He's barely breathing. This is probably one of the most painful things that Luffy has ever gone through. And Emu pulls out an axe from his omen. How unfortunate. The third one up is Xingtian or Xingtian. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce these. Xingtian. It is a giant axe, and it is the third weapon that Emu is going to strike Luffy with. And then we get some clashes between Zoro and Summers and Sanji and Killingham. And here is where we learn definitively about the weapons that Emu is wielding. So we get a clash between Zoro and Summers where Zoro gets pushed back it looks like he gets flung back by Summers using an attack called Dragon Damnation Graham. That's either the attack. We know the sword is Graham, so he might be using a technique with the sword's name at the end of it. And here, Summers tells us, 800 years ago, the 19 kings who forged our world made a vow of equality. They placed their swords all around the empty throne to mark that oath. Toho, Boho, Nemesis, Longius, Stigma, Muramasa. We get 6 named weapons here, plus the one that Emu used earlier. The 19 world weapons, they were all laid to rest there. But guess what? Listen, Pirate Hunter Zoro of the Straw Hats. This story, it gets even better. When the Great One revived us with Omen, he granted us access to them, to the weapons from our families. I am not lying. Their power is a legend that lives on through the great houses. Do you get it? Do you understand, Roronoa Zoro? This is the power that reigns over the world. And so I think there's a strong possibility that these 19 weapons from the founding kingdoms of the current world, the founding families, are even a step above supreme grade blades, right? So they're probably amongst the most powerful weapons in the world. We don't know how a supreme grade black blade would stack up against these, but they're definitely the highest tier of weapons an individual can wield in this world. And you know, this clash between Summers and Zoro, I mean, there's black lightning. It looks like Conqueror's Haki could very well be involved here, at least on Zoro's side. Again, with the Omen buff, Summers might be fighting with Maki, with the technique that Emu uses, not standard Haki. But, you know, for as easy as the Gods Knights have been dealt with in the past, based off what we've been shown, access to these family weapons, to this Omen buff, is no joke. And we see that Killingham has one as well. So, yeah, so the weapon of House Shepherd is Graham. That is the sword that Summers is wielding. And the weapon of House Remo Shifu is Longinus, which is a spear that Killingham has. And Sanji's looking just as beat up as Zoro. So the two Wings of the Pirate King guys, they've got to evolve. They've got to get stronger. I've talked about the power-ups I think Sanji's going to unlock. I have not covered Zoro yet, but with this chapter, I have some ideas on what Zoro might have to obtain in order to combat Summers. And we end the chapter with Emu coming in with that axe, and what very well might have been the final blow against Luffy. There is a good possibility Luffy would not have survived this attack, but it gets blocked by Scapper. The left wing of the Pirate King has arrived, and so I think that our next staller up in the line of people who are going to stall Emu against taking out Luffy and also buying us time to free Luffy is Scapper. Now this makes me very nervous, okay? Because we know Luffy's not going to die, right? It's evident. We know that Luffy's not going to die. The story would be over. He's got that plot armor. Scapper does not have any such thing. So I definitely see a possibility of him actually going down in a major way in this arc. Going down, defending Elbaf, defending Luffy, defending Colin and Ripley. And we might actually lose Scapper in this arc. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we don't, because I really want to see the conversation that was set up between him and the Straw Hats at the end of the arc. But we know that Scapper is going to be willing to put it all on the line if that's necessary. And we have a break next week, so plenty of time for discussions. Like I mentioned, I might be talking about Zoro next. Please leave comments if you have any thoughts on this chapter that I missed or anything you want to add. Put them in the comments below. If we get enough together, then we might be able to do further discussions on that. I'd love to hear about it. Please like and subscribe. It is super important for channels as tiny, as small as mine, and I would greatly appreciate it. And with that, I would like each and every one of you to have an excellent rest of your day.